Katy Huller here with Kids Can Read and Write. Today I want to help you help your kids learn how to read words that have the OA combination. Now, that is one of our two vowels tricks, where the first one says its name. Hey, remember me, my name is O. And the second one is just listening. But let's say you don't want to teach the two vowels trick, as I know a lot of people shy away from that one because we have so many vowel combinations that say other things, like the two O's that say ooh, cool, or the O pinching the U that says ow, and so many others. OI saying oi. You can go on and on with ones that don't follow that. Well, I like to teach the two vowels trick very early on and then teach the exceptions as we go through the tricks. But if you don't want to teach the two vowels tricks, at least teach the ones that do follow the rule, because your kids need to know them to be able to sound out words with them. When they see the OA trick, we want them to know that that's not ah, but rather oh. So you can come up with another trick to teach them this. If you don't want to teach the two vowels trick, you could say something like, oh, I didn't know A was coming with us, right? Or, oh boy, A is coming, right? The key is you want to help your kids see when O and A are next to each other, they make the O sound. But if your kids struggle with memory, maybe visual memory, maybe they're already diagnosed with dyslexia, or you just know it goes right over their heads and they just don't remember it, telling a story can really help your kids get it. So if you tell them something like, oh, every time O is going out with other letters and he sees his cousin A, see how they look very similar? It's almost like an O with just a stick. When he sees his cousin A, he says, oh boy, cousin A is coming, right? And so when you tell a story like that and you get kids to pay attention to the way it looks, it makes it easier for them to retain it. Now, that's not to say they always will and you won't need to remind them, but it's a lot easier than not telling the story. And a lot of times what I'll tell my kids who are struggling with memory, and they learn and they forget, and they learn and they forget, I'll just have to say, oh, remember when O sees his cousin A, what does he say? And they go, oh yeah, oh boy, right? And that's what helps them remember it. If I just say, what do O and A say? They don't know. But if I say something like, what does O see when he sees his cousin A? Oh boy, they always shout out. So that's kind of the fun part of teaching reading, is coming up with fun ways for your kids to remember what two letters generally say together. Now, if you're not very creative, you don't know what to say, get the Black Belt Reading Program. I have tricks in order for you to teach. I've laid it all out. I have all the materials you need. I have the videos, all of that, and I've made up stories to help your kids remember the tricks. And it works, and it helps them learn to read and learn to spell. And it's all in one nicely packaged program, so you can get it and just follow it in order, and you can watch your child learn to read and write. So if you need a higher version of it, get in touch with me, because I don't have those officially on the market yet, but I do have them. But if you need just level 1, if your kids are just learning to read, you can get it. Find it in the description. You can find a link. You can go to our website, kidscanreadandwrite.com or kidscanonlineacademy.com. So anyway, back to reading. So once you teach your kids that O and the A say O, now you need to show them how to go from the beginning to the end. And they can do this with little words, and they can do this with big words. So we're going to do both today. And if you just want to do the small ones, that's great. But I would teach your kids how to do long ones while you're teaching small ones. I don't see any reason to keep kids on little words. It's very easy to move them into big words, and it's one of the biggest mistakes I find that a lot of tutors and teachers are making, and that's that they're just keeping kids on little tiny words for so long, waiting for that fluency to come in, and fluency comes in when it wants to, okay? Every brain is different, and every kid is different, and fluency will come in when it wants to. But you can teach your kids how to read small words, big words, any kind of words in the meantime. Do not wait for fluency to move your kids forward. That is not necessary. They need information, they need tools. Don't keep them on little words forever. Okay, so let's read. So we're going to make this first sound. We're going to drag our vowel into our next sound. So if we go boat, boat, boat. That's the first word. What is a boat? Well, that's something that can take you places on the water. All right, make sure after your kids read words with you that you are also asking what they just read. What does it mean? Make sure you're checking vocabulary. A lot of kids will say the word and you think they know what it means, and maybe they do and maybe they don't. Check them and confirm it, because a lot of kids struggle with vocabulary who struggle with reading. So make sure that you're explaining the word, that your kids are thinking the same thing you're thinking, because later when they're reading sentences, stories, etc., they're going to need to have that vocabulary. All right, how about this one? We have r. Remember, R is not Do not say for R. It's more of a r. Ode. See Daddy's faces first. If your kids are having trouble with B's and D's, make sure you draw Daddy's face in there. Do not call it, something that doesn't start with duh. Make sure, I like to say, this is Daddy. He's about to climb up the ladder and work on the roof. When you want a D, put Daddy's face on the ground so he can climb up the ladder. Or you can say C comes before a D. And so when you have that C before the line, that's a D. Whatever you want, but be consistent. For young kids, I like Daddy's face so they can see, oh look, Daddy's there, and I'll just quickly draw in the face if needed. So this one's road, road, okay? What about this one? What would this be? Oh, before we do that one. What's a road? Something you can drive on, something you can, go on to get somewhere, a road. All right, now this one. So we have our S, we have our K. Remember, O. All right, soak, soak. What does soak mean? Like you could soak your feet in water if they're sore. Or you could soak something with water, like get it really wet. All right, what about this one? Own, own, loan. Notice you can go own, loan, or you can go own, loan. Why do I do that? I get that question a lot. Why aren't you dropping the schwa, right? Well, that's because a lot of my kids have auditory processing issues. They do not hear clearly. They have a hard time understanding sounds, so they need to hear it louder. So I've gotten into the habit of saying own, loan, so that they can hear it more easily. But if you do the shorter sounds, loan, loan, that's fine too. Just be consistent with the way you do it. It is okay. People think you have to do everything one specific way. Not true. You can learn to read a bunch of different ways, but this is a way that helps my kids. So do what helps yours. If your kids can hear really well, they don't have auditory processing issues, keep everything short. Loan, loan. But if they can't really hear that "l" and that "n" when you're keeping it inside, say it louder so they can hear it. Loan, loan, right? Do what works for your kids because that's what's going to matter. Later, once they start hearing it and doing it, you can work on taking those extra parts out and make it more of a loan. But the most important thing is they can hear what you're doing and follow along. Then you can always backtrack a little to make it smoother. You can help your kids learn to read it faster and smoother. All right, now what about these big words? The little words are pretty easy. You know, you're not making a lot of sounds. They're pretty easy. But a lot of kids get all messed up when you put a lot of letters together. Now, why does that happen? A lot of kids have visual processing issues and different visual things going on. Some, this just overwhelms them. The thought of going through all those letters just overwhelms them. They don't want to do it. They kind of shut down, or they guess, or they just get stuck, frozen like a deer in the headlights. Others get letters mixed up. They can't tell the letter order, or they think they know the word because it looks like another word they've seen, and they just say something that maybe starts the same, ends the same, has a similar letter somewhere. We don't want kids doing any of those things, right? We need kids to look from the beginning all the way through to the end. That's how you read. It's a code. So we want to teach kids, even the youngest kids. I teach kindergartners and first graders to read these big words. I do not keep it a secret from them. I learned very early in my teaching career that if you keep kids on little words, they think that's all they can read. So you need to show them how to read the big words, and it's really easy. It's not really any harder than reading these small words. It does take a little little memory, and you have words that you need more vocabulary to understand, but it's not harder, and it should be taught as you're teaching reading, okay? So let's talk about these words. How do we look at these words if we're a beginning reader who's overwhelmed? Well, I like teaching the simplest breakup policy ever, okay? Instead of learning like 8 different rules, I just want you to teach your kids one, and that's look for the vowels, go one past, break it. This will work most of the time. Kids will get used to seeing words in part, and they'll naturally adjust in most cases when that needs to be adjusted. So let's see how that works. Remember, the vowels are A, E, I, O, and U. Okay, so those are the ones we're looking for. So notice we have a vowel in the beginning, this U. That's our glue. We're going to glue it onto the next letter, and we're going to break it. Okay, here we have a vowel team next. That's our new trick, saying O. We're going to glue that on to the next letter and break it. Now, this is another trick. You don't have to teach your kids that for them to read it, because D-E-D says da-ed, and that's the sounds they're expecting to make anyway. If it were the D ending, like after anything other than a T or a D, then you would need to tell them how to do it. But this one, you can just sound out when you know basic letters and sounds and this OA trick. So let's see how we would read this then. All you need them to read is that. Well, if they can read these, they can probably read that, right? Up, up. So that's the beginning chunk. Now we look at the middle. Well, it's no bigger than these words, right? No harder. Load, load. Then we put these two together. Up, load. Now we read our last chunk. Ed. Up, load, ed. Uploaded. Uploaded. Like you uploaded something to your computer. Uploaded. okay? Uploaded. All right, what about this one? How would we break this word? Remember, look for the vowels, go one past, break it. So here we have the A is a vowel. So we're going to glue that onto this next sound and break it. We have our vowel team here, the O trick. And then we have one more trick that your kids need to know to read it. Remember, if they don't know the tricks, you need to be teaching them. You can find them in the Black Belt Reading Program if you need help, okay? But that's all we have to read are 2 parts here. So we start with this one, app, and then we read this one, pra-pra-och, pra-och, proach. We put them together, approach, okay? This works extremely well with kids with memory issues because they don't have to remember approach. That's too many sounds for a lot of kids. They just remember app, put that together, and they do approach, put that together. Now we have 2 things, approach. If you approach someone, you walk up to them, okay? All right, what about this one? Where would we break this word? Well, here our vowel, our first vowel is here, so we glue it on to the next letter and we'll break it there. We only have one more vowel combo here, that's our O trick. So we're going to read this part together. So we start with just this little word. And again, this is no harder than these. This is really no harder than these as long as your kids know how to do blends, okay? So even kindergartners and first graders can learn to read these big words. And they have fun with it, especially if you're excited about it and make it fun. So let's see, we have our ip, clip. Or maybe you want to go ip, clip. Okay, either way is fine. Don't sweat the small stuff. Here we have the ba back first, so we're going to say ba. We have our O trick, and we're going to go in. We have AR here. Do you know what A and the R say? There are pirates. They say R. Okay, so this is really a double trick. We have the O and the R. B-O-R-D. Board. Board. Do you hear how it becomes board? Board. Board. So we have clip, board, clipboard. And that's that little board with the clip on it that you can put your papers on and hold them to it. A clipboard. So that's a nice compound word. All right, what about this one? It's another compound word. Let's see what it says. So here's our first vowel combination. Remember, O sees A, and he says, oh boy, right? Oh. So we're going to say O there. We go one pass. We glue it on to that next sound. And then here's another vowel combination. First one says its name, say E. Second doesn't say anything. And we're going to break it there because we glue that on to this one. Now we have one more trick in this word. And do you know what E and the R say? Now, if your kids don't know these tricks, don't expect them to be able to sound out this word. Tricks are so important. If your kids don't know the tricks, reading is going to be a real challenge for them. That's why I created the Black Belt Reading Program, so you can just follow along teaching them the tricks in an order that makes sense and builds words. So if you need that, look it up. Remember, you can find everything in the description below. If you want to just go to kidscanreadandwrite.com or kidscanonlineacademy.com, you can find it there. And even the first grade program, that one that's out, will end up teaching your kids to read big words. So whatever level you get, you'll end up reading big words. If you need bigger words to start, remember, get in touch with me so I can get the right program to you. All right, here we go. We're going to read just this part first. Go, goal. Really, we have the A-L and we have the O-A here. Go and the all. Goal. But if you don't know the A-L yet, you'll still hear it. Go, goal, right? You can still hear it. All right, what about this? Eep, keep, and then don't forget, E and the R say So we have goal, keep, goalkeeper, goalkeeper. That is the person who keeps the goals from happening, the goalkeeper. The goalie, as we call it for short. So the person in the goal who tries to keep people from scoring, the goalkeeper, okay? So there you go, guys. It's that easy. Don't stress over big words. And if your kids are trying to read them, you know they don't know the tricks yet. You need to teach them the tricks, right? It's so much easier when you go approach. So much easier. So learn how to break up words. Remember, glue your vowel onto the next sound. Break it. This will work most of the time. Read one part, then the next. Stick them together. If your kids can go approach really quickly, great. But if your kids have memory issues, processing issues, expect it to be a little bit slow, especially in the beginning. Be patient, be kind, give your kids time to process. Don't rush them. They'll start guessing or missing the words. So give them time to process, make it fun, praise them, don't rush them. They will feel your rushing energy if you do. Just calm down, be happy, be patient. Count to 10, whatever you need to do, but let them sound it out and then high five them, be excited, praise them and all that for their hard work. Whether they get it or not, tell them, good try, you almost got it, and then let them try again. Because if you get too upset about missing it, you're going to make them anxious. And I guarantee you they won't want to work with you. So if you want your kids to work with you, you need to be calm, be encouraging, you need to praise them, you need to be excited, you need to make it fun. So do what you can to make it fun and easy. And that's my goal for making these videos, is to help you make reading easy for your kids. So I hope this helps you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day. Hope this blesses you, and I hope you'll join me again next time. Don't forget to like, comment, let me know you're listening, let me know what you're struggling with, and I will do my best to help you. Thanks again.